Hello everyone, this is the Paper Princess and we're going to get started creating our base album. This particular one I used for Child Bella's Collateral Rust, and it's my road trip album, but I will probably use this 8.5 by 8.5 size for other albums as well. So this particular album, you will need two pieces of 8.5 by 8.5. And this is a 90-point chipboard I just got off of Amazon. If you happen to have 12 by 12, you can cut it 8.5 by 8.5. But when you're laying it out, make sure that the side facing up and down is the stiff side, not this. There's a wobbly side. So there is a correct way to put it. So this is my stiff side. So I have this facing up and I have my spine. Now the spine from album to album can be different sizes. For this particular album, I'm going to recommend 3 3/4. So it's 8.5 by 3 3/4. In my project share, that particular album was 3.5, and it could just use a little more room. So I just gave this an extra 1/4 inch. It doesn't change anything that we're going to do. But that decision you make in the beginning, how wide you want your spine, depends on how much you're going to put in there. How many pictures. I have lots of pockets in my album, so how many pamphlets or things you're going to put in the pocket. If you put a lot in there, just make it a little bigger. I found that 4 inches was probably a little too wide for this particular album, so let's just split the difference and go 3 3/4. So you need a piece of that, and also make sure that that's the stiff side this way. So let's set this aside for a split second here. You need 2 pieces of your cardstock that you're going to use. I chose black. I often use black. So what you need to do is take 2 pieces and score a 1/2 inch. And this particular cardstock is 80 pound. It's got a textured side and a flat side. So the textured side I want to be showing on the outside of the album, so I'm going to put the flat side facing up if I'm using a score runner. And here we go. So we've got a 1/2 inch, and then you take right here and you run a piece of score tape. I'm going to use 3/8 inch. In this album I use a lot of 3/8 inch and a 1/4 inch. So I have my little tear tool here, just a piece of glass. You can, they sell rulers, square quilting rulers that are like this, or I also got this off of Amazon, and I just put one of those sticky foam dots on there, and then I can use it to tear my tape. So I'm going to press this down with my bone folder, and I'm going to use this score line right here, right up there, to put this other piece of paper. So let's line that up. Get some white over here. Hold on. Maybe I'll turn it sideways. I can see it better. Turn it over. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to dry fit this and just lay it all out to make sure where we want to put everything, make sure it fits. Okay, what I also do to know the amount of space, you want some space between your spine and your front and back cover, because it needs to bend. So the typical rule is whatever thickness your chipboard is, you take 2 pieces of scrap that you just cut off, tape it together, and 2 widths would be the amount of space you want between your spine and your cover. Okay, but first let's just look at it and make sure we have enough room to, we're going to fold this over. You need at least, I'd say the bare minimum is 1 inch. So I'm going to see what I have here. Okay, so I'm gonna shoot for 1 1/4 inches. Got my space there and there, and what's left over here is 1 1/4 inches. Yeah, so 1 1/4 inches on both sides will do it. So what you need to do also is you want a piece of plastic Tyvek material. I just went to the post office and got this priority mailer. And before you glue anything down, you're going to want to take a piece that's a little bit wider than your width of your spine, not too much taller. So I just want to make a little pencil mark here of where I'm going to cut that. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside, and we'll be putting tape on that, tape on all these pieces. But first, let's just measure out our 1 1/4 on this side. I'm going to put a little mark going in the middle, on the bottom. If you have a ruler that's 1 1/4 inches, that would be perfect. This one's a little bit wider. So I'm going to take this, got my 3 little marks, line them up. So we make a nice straight line. Okay. All right, and then the bottom, you can take, let me see, we got plenty of room on the bottom. Yeah, so I'm going to take the width of my ruler. So I'll just put the ruler along the base here of the bottom of the page and go across. Okay, so what we're interested in is this intersection right here, because that's where the corner of your front cover of the book would go. All right, let's see how much room we have at the top. We have 1 3/4 inches. Yeah, it's about the same. So we will leave it like that. And before we lay it down, let's set this aside here. We need to tape up our spine and our front and back cover. Okay, so, and our tie-back material. So let's take some tape. Like I said, I use a lot of the 3/8 inch, but when you're covering these sheets, you want to use something thick. Otherwise, you're just going to be using an awful lot of 3/8 inch. So this particular one, they sell it in 2 inch, 2.5. This is 2 inches. 2 inches, they have 1.5, 2.5, 3, even 4. So whatever you use to make your books, you want to take this score tape here, and I hold it where I put my hand in the middle so that I have control of it. So again, I want to make double sure that's my side. I'm going to put tape all across. I found that tearing tape that's this wide, it just doesn't tear right, so I'm gonna cut it. And we're covering the whole thing. Yeah, so 2 inches works out pretty well. I have a little piece that's not covered here, so all I have to do is take, it looks like it's about 1/4 inch, so I'm going to take some 1/4 inch tape and cover that. You want to get as much as you can of this chipboard covered. Okay, and now we're going to just press it down. Some of you have this, it's like a plastic bone folder, and in that case you would be kind of going like this. I have this, I'll show it to you because you can get this online too. I love it. It's Teflon, so it's really thick, and so you can just use this side to press it down, and I kind of like that. All right, so I'm going to set that aside, bring out my other piece, and do the same thing. At first, making your own book cover and book base can seem overwhelming, but you get used to it so fast. And you have complete control of your book, what size it's going to be. It's kind of, you can buy pre-made albums that have pages in them and you just decorate, and that's fine, but you just don't have as much control over what size, and you know, and often what determines the size for me, I look at the paper and see where I'm going to cut it, you know, what the flaps are going to be, and it kind of gives me an idea of what size would work well. And we'll take our 1/4 inch. Press this down. We want to get all the bubbles out. Make sure it sticks really good. So there's a little piece overhanging. You just clip off any of it like that. Okay. And now our spine. So the spine is almost 4 inches, so I could put 2 pieces down. And then I would just, let me just see how much would be hanging off. Not too much. I could either use another piece of this and cut it across, or a couple pieces of my thicker tape. So that's probably what I'll do, because this thick tape is pretty expensive. And I'll save it for some other books. And so I'll just use my more common tape, which is the 3/8. That's what I have tons of. You probably only need maybe 4 pieces here. They also sell 1/2 inch tape. So let's get our piece of Tyvek and cover that. This is not, you know, as strict about covering every square inch. We'll see how it goes, but if this tape runs out a little bit before I get to here, I may not need, you know, to cover that, because I'm really just trying to cover this spine and a little bit hanging off the edges. So I probably don't need to go all the way to the end. We will see. Let's see where this takes us. Yeah, I would probably, I don't need another whole piece. This is fine. So burnish this down and just cut off this end piece that I don't really need. and now let's bring back our cardstock. Again, make sure everything's facing the right way. We want that facing that way. Yeah, and then this is facing that way. Okay, so the first thing we do is we want to put down our tie-back piece, and in order to put where it's going to go, let's quickly make sure where we are. It's going to be there. This is going to be over here. And we want this to be in the middle somewhat. So that would be, okay, that's where our spine is. So we can just scooch it over here. I'm going to put a little pencil mark. Okay, and we will peel this off and put it right here. Okay, so let's put that right where that pencil mark is. And once you have it down, it's down. This is really sticky. Okay. All right, and now we've got our main piece. So this is the first piece that's going to go down. And remember that intersection point right here? That's what we're going to use as a guide. Everything else will just fall into place. Okay, so here's our chipboard. Double, triple check. Okay, and I'm gonna put this down in the corner, from corner to corner. I'm gonna first put it at an angle so it doesn't all stick down at once. And I can see that it's lined up here on that pencil mark. And as I lay it down, it goes right across this pencil mark here because I lined up the corner right there. Okay, the next piece will be the spine. Before we lay this down, so first we'll take all our backing off. And you're going to need to get that spacer that you created with your two pieces of chipboard taped together. Okay, so I have that handy. It is right here. What I do is I put that here. I'm going to put this again at that angle so it's not all stuck down and I can move it somewhat. Here's my line. Got it lined up. That piece, make sure it's lined up at the top. There we go, and then I can lay it down and lift that off. And there's our space that we need right there. Okay, then we will take all this backing off. Put our spacer there. I've got it at an angle here so I can move it around if I need to again. And you can feel with your finger where this lines up. Yes. Okay. And then I will make sure. Okay, and then I'll let it go. Lift that off, and there we have it. So okay, very good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to tape all across the bottom of this chipboard, all around, and then all around the edge of this of our black cardstock. Also, you're going to need to, I'm looking for my corner. We will, when we get to it, we have a jig because we're going to cut our corners after we tape it. This is, I'll show you real quick. If you don't have one of these, if you're going to be making a lot of books, it might help to get one. But I got this at colorwaysarts.com, and it's just a miter tool. And if you don't have one, I will show you what to do with your ruler. But first, let's start taping. So we're going to take our 3/8 inch tape and go all across the bottom. And on the base of this chipboard. Turn it and do right across the bottom here. I'm kind of out of frame, but I'm doing the side. Which you will see in a second here. Let me angle that. Yes, you do it all across the bottom. And then on this chipboard, right on the edge. Now this piece up here, I've got it going across the top, but it's a little bit wider than I normally, so I'm gonna run another piece just up here for extra security. Okay, and then on the chipboard. And then our last side here. Okay. And now we will press this all down. It's kind of fun. Okay, so before we peel off anything, let's get these corners cut. Okay, so I'm gonna just make a pencil line there. Now, if you don't have this tool, all you have to do is take your ruler. Basically, what this tool is doing is giving you 1/8 of an inch right here. So you don't want to cut your paper right up to the chipboard. You need to be able to, you're going to fold the side and the top over, kind of like a present. And we're going to need a little bit of space to tuck that in so it's no sharp edges showing. So it, you know how when you wrap a present, you tuck in the sides and then you fold it. up. So if you don't have this tool, basically take your ruler to where you have about 1/8 of an inch between your ruler and this chipboard, and then make your line like that. Okay, 1/8 of an inch if you're looking at your ruler. This one is a 1/16 ruler, but if you don't have all these little markings, basically 1/8 of an inch is 2 of these lines. So let's do it on all 4 corners. And then we will cut them straight across. Okay, so let's start with the bottom first. Clean up my area a little bit. Okay, so we're going to take the strip off the bottom and on the chipboard just above it. And what you do is you start in the middle. So first of all, I'm going to just fold this over a little bit. Get used to that. And then I'm going to start in the middle and kind of roll my hand up. So I'm going to roll up and press down like that. And then I do the same thing all the way across. So start on the table and just roll up over the chipboard and press that down, that paper. Okay, and then you press it down with your bone folder. And take it and just in the sides, just press a little bit, not hard. You don't want to rip this. Just press that a little bit and you'll get it used to, it's going to have to fold. Okay, so now I want to turn it over and do the same thing at the top. I have a little trash bin there, so just a lot of this score tape backing. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to get it used to bending, so just give it a bend like that. Okay, I'm starting in the middle and I'm rolling up. Okay, and then we can press this down. Okay, so now bend this a little. Okay, now the sides. This is the part where we're going to wrap our book like we're wrapping a gift. So I'm going to take off this score tape here. Okay, now you take your bone folder, and what you want to do is you see there's a little piece sticking here in the corner. You need to press that in. So pretend that's your gift on the side here. And you're folding that in a little bit. Same thing down here. It's pressed in. And so that when I fold it over, again, just give it a little pre-fold here. And then you start in the middle and just fold this over. Then your corner comes out nice and perfect. There's nothing sticking out. You tucked it in. If you didn't do that, you'd have a little piece sticking off here. If worse comes to worse and it just doesn't come out right, or if you just want extra decoration on your cover, they do sell these, Tim Holtz has these metal corners that you can put on there. And some people do that, so you can always get around anything. If you don't think it came out right, there's always a way to fix it. So that worked there. Let's turn it over and do the same thing on the other side. Tuck it in here. I hope you can see me doing this. I don't know, but I'm going to lift this up and show you in the camera. Okay, so right here, I don't know if you can sort of see that, but this is tucked in. And then when let's give it our pre-fold, it'll just go right over. Makes a nice corner. There's nothing sticking out right there. Okay, so that's that and there. Now for extra protection, I use bookbinding tape. So let me get this. Show you. This I also got on Amazon. It's just an extra step because when you're folding these books a lot, you don't want this paper to crack. So I take this, it's like cloth material. They call it bookbinding tape. They have different sizes. This particular one is 1.5 inches. They have 1.5 inches, 2 inches, and I'm really just going to be covering these folded areas. And when you're done, your book, you notice a lot of books have this like a tape right here. That's what this is. So let's take this and I will show you what to do. You don't want to start at the top because you will, this isn't perfectly straight. It's been cut many times. So I don't want to start way up here. I want somewhere where it's not going to be seen because I'm going to cover this all with designer paper and decorative paper. Our hinge is going to be right here. So I'm going to start about, let me see, down about, let's say 1 inch or so. So used to eyeballing this. It's about 1 inch. 1 inch down, I'm going to lay this down and just go all the way around the book, which I will show you. Flip it over. Just keep rolling it out. And then that lines up right there. No one will see that. And it just gives it an extra little protection. So what I mean by, you know, you've seen books and there's like a little edge to the book. We're going to have our design paper right here, and then this will be the edge, and the cloth will allow some flexibility, and all this will be covered. Okay, so let's do the same thing to the other side. About 1 inch down, and the tape is in the middle. I'm putting my fold line right in the middle. there we go. Love it. Okay, so what we need to do now is to put our hinge in. And I use the hidden hinge system. It was invented by Kathy Orta-King at Paper Phenomenon. So you can go to www.paperphenomenon.com and learn how to make it. Some people out there have purchased a license and they have tutorials online, so you can look and get it. A lot of you already know how to do that. But this is going to be a 4-page book, so we're going to have 4 hinges right here. What I like to do is leave about 1/2 inch on the top and bottom. So this will just tell you how big your paper has to be that you cut, and then you make your folds to make the hidden hinge. So if I started at 1/2 inch right there and ended, I would need to make my my paper a 7, obviously. Well, this is 8.5 inches, but basically that's how you do it. For any size book, you leave a 1/2 inch on the top and the bottom, and you measure it. So 7.5 inches. So I'm going to cut my paper 7.5 inches by probably, you know, however the length of it. You can always cut off the sides, but it would stick out about here after you're done folding it. So the basic measurement is the 7.5, and then watch tutorials, go to Paper Phenomenon and learn how to make the system. And there's also paper on there you can purchase, tutorials that are wonderful, and it's a nice site to visit. So when we come back, I will have my hinge in here, and we will get started making this album. So I hope to see you soon.